Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy, you can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Okay, so this should be our very first episode of the year of 2021. And what's interesting is I'm releasing an episode every Thursday. So last Thursday was December 31st. And I was thinking, oh man, it's the new year. I should probably address this on the podcast. I should talk about New Year's resolutions or goal setting or, just something about the year, the new year coming, because this is the time of year that so many people reevaluate their nutrition, health, fitness, training goals. And so I felt this pressure, address it. And a little insight to my personality. Whenever there's something that I'm being told to do, I have a lot of resistance to that. Hence, I own my own business so that I'm the one telling myself what to do. And last week, I had a lot of resistance. I was like, oh, I just don't even want to address this. It wasn't something that I was personally feeling in my heart. And it was also showing a little bit of my frustration with that whole theme of new year, new you. I get frustrated and annoyed and quite frankly bored by that. So I couldn't get myself to do it. So if you listened to last week's episode, it was a recorded session with the amazing, the one and only Gianna Hook, who is an athletic trainer for collegiate athletes. And that was a great episode, but had nothing to do with the fact that it was, the new year. And so interestingly, though, throughout the week and the weekend, I did some self-reflection on, what it means to me. And I talked through it with my clients and I was listening to some of their things coming up. And I have a mentor, a coach in my life. So I did some, simple, mild goal setting with them and brought some attention to the fact that it's a new year. And so here is my New Year's podcast, finally out more like a week later, but doesn't matter. It's still a brand new year. It's 2021 and I'm welcoming it and I'm excited for it. And as I bring you this New Year episode, there are 50 things going through my head. And this was what was going through my head last week was I was like, do I talk about how much my business has changed 1 year into it? Do I talk about New Year's resolutions and goal setting? Do I talk about diet culture? Do I talk about progress that my clients have made in a year? And so guess what? You're going to get a little bit of it all today. I might be all over the place, all over the board, but this is just a solo episode, a little bit of a Lindsay rant, and here we go. I wanted to talk about this whole theme of new year, new you. And it's hard for me to talk about because I get I'm tensed up right now. I get frustrated talking about it. I'm rolling my eyes. I'm annoyed. This is diet culture. And I don't know how much you listening kind of are aware of diet culture, but whether you are aware or not, we've all been affected by it in some way, shape, or form. And this is just the culture. It is very, very prevalent in American society, but there's a form of diet culture in every society. It is the culture that puts the blame on you and puts the blame on you for not looking a certain way, not being able to follow a specific type of diet, makes you feel that you need to be following a specific type of diet. And when you don't feel that way, when you don't do that diet and you can't stick to a plan, makes you feel like you are inherently flawed, right? So if you don't have this ideal image or if you're not following a air quote unquote healthy diet, then you're doing something wrong. This is the culture that American society really lives in. And, where it started, how it started. It's something that's always evolving over time. Let me kind of backtrack a little bit. There's so much that goes into this. I don't even know that I can express clearly what I want to, but I want to talk about something that I call the diet cycle. And this is something that so many people can relate to. And this is almost like the foundation of diet culture. Okay. So the diet cycle is a cycle where you feel like you're not doing something right, where you aren't thin enough, aren't fit enough, don't have the abs that society tells you need. You're not following a healthy diet. You're not eating enough lean proteins. You haven't done keto yet. It's telling you are hearing and seeing all these messages that are telling you you're doing something wrong. And so, or that you are wrong, your body is wrong, your shape is wrong. And so you go on a diet. And these diets are ever evolving, right? In the 90s, we had the Atkins diet and the South Beach diet. And I swear, I think my mom was on like a grapefruit diet at some point in time, Slim Fast diet. And then they morph and they change. And recently we've had a huge surge in the intermittent fasting, Whole30, ketogenic, which are still diets. These are all diets. And so you feel like something's wrong. You go on a diet, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter which diet I just listed. They are restrictive in nature. They are inherently restrictive. Either your calories are restricted, your macros are restricted, your food groups are restricted, the time of day in which you can eat is restricted. You are abiding by a set of rules which restricts you. And guess what happens when we are restricted? And this goes with anything in life, not just diet, when we feel restricted, almost like how I started this podcast and I said I felt like I had to do something. I rebelled against it. I didn't want to. When we feel restricted, we want to rebel against that. This is like a behavioral human instinct. When we feel restricted, we eventually give in some sort. We have cravings or we have this, physiological need to get more. We feel like we need to rebel against, the system. And so we do. And that often leads people, whether for a lot of people, it could be actually like overeating or binging or just that air quotes going off my diet. I fell off my diet. I'm off track. And when that happens, we feel like a failure. Because going back to the beginning, we've learned through our society and our culture that going on a diet is healthier, that this is the right thing. Or if we go on the diet, then we are going to, be more successful, get more fit, have more friends, be happier. And so when we can't do that, we feel like we've failed. And so what happens when we feel like we fail, what happens when we fail is we're hard on ourselves. We're tough on ourselves. And we say, well, I've got to fix this. Well, I have a problem, so I've got to fix this. And it's like the only thing that you have learned how to do to fix it is go back on a diet. Restrict yourself again. And this is where you can see it becomes a cycle. You restrict, which inherently leads you to feel deprived in some way, which leads you to rebel against that, to binge, to fall off your diet, which leads you to feel guilty and terrible and unworthy. And then you go back on the diet, and it is a never-ending cycle. This is the diet cycle, and this is what perpetuates and drives the diet industry and the diet culture. And that's what I want you guys to think about is like, who's benefiting from this? Who benefits from you feeling like you need to change your body, that you need to go on a diet, that you need to eat a certain way, or that you need to look a certain way? Who benefits? Because it's not you. If you're in that diet cycle, then it's not you. You're not benefiting. I have met so many people, some that I am close to, family members, friends, and some that are, clients of mine that have been in this diet cycle for 20, 30, 40 years, a lifetime, because it's never ending. So who benefits? It's not you. It's not you benefiting. It's the diet industry. It's the people who are creating these diets, creating the Whole30 cookbooks, creating supplements, those MLM companies that promote their supplement products. It's personal trainers. And I'm going to throw myself under the bus right here and say it's dietitians. Some dietitians benefit from that, right? The diet industry, it's a whole industry. This is a multi-million, actually probably billion-dollar industry that benefits from selling you an ideal image, an ideal weight, an ideal way of eating that claims to solve your problems. And what it actually does is perpetuates the problem. So I feel like this is really important because in the new year, this is when the diet industry and the fitness industry booms. Now, sometimes I live in my own little bubble because I don't agree with this. And again, I'm a dietitian, but I teach my clients how to get out of diet culture, how to get out of the diet cycle, to break free of that. Really interestingly, my goal in working with my clients is that I eventually won't work with them. I'm not trying to have a client and just perpetuate their nutrition issues. My goal is to provide a solution, a lifetime solution and transformation so that they can spread their wings and fly without me. I don't want them to always have to come back and need nutrition support. And so this time of year is such a time, I kind of lost my train of thought here, but this time of year is such a time where the diet industry is booming. And, you are just, flooded with messages, friends, coworkers, online, social media, just telling you like, new year, new you, going to start a new diet, things are going to be different, going to get active, going to get fit. And I'm not discouraging people from trying to be active or eat foods that fuel their bodies. Like I'm definitely not discouraging that, but to be very, very cautious just be very, very cautious because you can look back. You probably did the same thing last year, right? You probably did the same thing last year. Oh, 2020 is going to be different. And then what happened? And let's not blame it on COVID, okay? Because there are plenty of people who have been able to, find ways to move their body, continue training, or eat well throughout COVID. And I'm not blaming you if you weren't. Please don't take that the wrong way. I'm not blaming you if because of stress you did gain weight or you didn't train at your highest level because competitions were canceled. You took a back seat. That's totally fine. That's life. That's fine. I did too. Let's face it. That's reality. But what I'm saying is that this happens every year. Every year people say it's going to be new year. Things are going to be different. I'm going to do this diet plan. I'm going to have my gym membership. I'm going to sign up for a coach. And then it doesn't work. And then the next year they're doing it again. And the next year they're doing it again. And this is just, a year-long diet cycle. This is a year-long cycle. And what we need to do here is we need to break that cycle. So as you head into this new year, my goal for you, my wish for you, I should say, is how can you approach nutrition, training, performance without this constant cycle, without this roller coaster, without this, I'm on it, now I'm off it, or I was doing so good and then I completely lost it. We need more consistency. We need, and to have that, it needs to be internally motivated, right? That's why it can't come from the external pressures of diet culture and diet industry. Has to be internally motivated. And that's why personally in my practice as a dietitian in my business, I really, really value doing everything individualized and personalized and helping you identify those internal motivators and what is the change that we really need to see here. And half the time as a dietitian, the change that I'm getting from my clients has nothing to do with changing their body weight, shape, or size or weight on the scale. And has everything to do with changing their approach and their mindset and their confidence in their own nutrition and body image and movement and training behaviors. It comes down to, again, that the beginning of the diet cycle and the issue with diet culture is this concept that something's wrong with you and you're doing something wrong. And if you can be free of that and let go of that and let yourself internally find what's important to you, what's meaningful for you, what truly brings health and happiness, and really even redefining what health means, that's where things are sustainable. And that's where we break free of diet culture and diet cycle completely. I don't know if I'm losing you guys on this one. It's like, this is like a really such an important topic, such a deep topic. And I almost didn't even talk about it because in my world, sometimes I live in a little bubble of, I've been doing nutrition and sports nutrition and intuitive eating type stuff. I've been doing this for over 10 years. So sometimes I live in a bubble and I think it's already been said. Everybody knows this, right? But the truth is people don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't have clients coming to me. Some people, this might be your first time hearing somebody say this. And if it is, I really hope that you are listening to this and really taking it to heart. And I hope that you then take the next step to explore this more. And if this is, your 10th time hearing it, your 20th time hearing it, I hope that this time it's making an impact. It doesn't matter how many times this needs to be said. And that's ultimately what I had to pump myself up for, when I was like, oh, do I need to go over this again on the podcast? You know what? I do. Because even though I live in this bubble and I've heard this topic 1,000 times and my eyes are open to the diet industry and the diet culture and diet cycle, some people's eyes aren't open to that yet. And some people are really, really suffering and struggling from it. And so I hope that this is helping to open your eyes. And if your eyes are open, I hope that this will motivate you to take the next step towards action of breaking free of this, because you can. You do not have to participate in diet culture. I do not participate in diet culture. Even just this week, I had somebody send me a message on Instagram DM being like, oh, how cool, you're a nutritionist. Do you recommend nutritional supplements to your clients? Have you heard of Arbonne? And they kind of already started getting into it, trying to sell to me Arbonne. I just stopped that conversation. And this is nothing against Arbonne, by the way. It's just the premise of, I don't believe in going down that path of some supplement company or one specific style of diet to convince people that they need this. What you need is to feel confident in your nutrition behaviors, again, that are internally motivated, help you reach your goals in a sustainable way for a lifetime. And it's not going to come from doing the whole 30 for 30 days and then on day 31 being like, oh, okay, well, what the heck do I do now? Because this is what happens on day 31. You either completely go off the diet and you eat, 2 pints of ice cream and you feel terrible about yourself. And then you repeat the diet cycle. Or the other thing that people do is on day 31, they decide, well, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep going. I actually had a client who came to me this fall who did literally exactly that. She did the whole 30 in the spring and then basically just kept going to the point where it broke her and it hurt her. And suddenly she had this eating disorder and body image issues and her health was terrible and her performance was declining fast. She was not doing well. So that's the point where what the diet culture says is quote unquote healthy, air quotes again, suddenly becomes unhealthy, like extremely unhealthy. So that's, woo, I'm really getting into it right now. And, this is an interesting thing. So as I just mentioned, I've been doing this for a while. Sometimes I am in my bubble and I've been doing this for 10 years. So this is something that kind of hit me when I was like, okay, it's 2021. And I was thinking about the dates and I was like, man, I'm going to show my age here, but I graduated with my degree in nutrition in 2011. I'm like, wow, dang, that's 10 years ago. And kind of what hit me is just like, wow, I guess I've really been in this field for 10 years now. I graduated with my degree and then I went on to get a master's in sports nutrition, become a registered dietitian, get a advanced specialist certification in sports dietetics. I've worked as a dietitian in a hospital, at NCAA collegiate universities, in special operations command, doing my own business, doing small contracts and gigs. Wow, I've done so much in this field and it's been 10 years of doing that. And what I love most about this is I love, this is such a basic answer, but I love helping people. And for me, one of my nutrition philosophies is helping people in a way that is not contributing to this diet culture. I had a client over a year ago that I was helping her, kind of opening her eyes to this, helping her with her nutrition and her running. She was running marathons at the time. And then what was interesting is we were working on these concepts and behavior changes and these internal motivators and what foods actually made her feel good and fuel her body for health and happiness and performance. And then kind of halfway through working together, she traveled, this was pre-COVID, she traveled to Europe and to Italy. And, her whole life living in the US, she had heard that pasta was bad for her. And when she went over to Italy, and it was like a totally different culture over there because pasta is not demonized in Italian culture. Pasta is, a staple. It's a necessary. It is healthy to them over there. It is good. It is family. It's memories. It's so ingrained in their culture as a positive thing. And yet here in the States, it's deemed as such a negative thing. And she had spent years, her whole life, feeling like she was doing something wrong or that she was bad for eating bread and eating pasta. Like I said, we began working on it so her eyes were a little open so that she was able to go on vacation with a little more freedom with her food choices. And then she was exposed to that and she was like, wow, I can eat pasta. I can eat bread and it is okay. Nobody's demonizing me over here. I'm not the one who's flawed. It's the industry. It's the diet culture that's flawed. And if you get anything from this podcast, please remember that you are not wrong here. It is the diet industry that is wrong. So after her vacation, that client, that just kind of, fast forwarded her progress, I think, with me, and then everything we were working on and her coming back home and figuring out, well, how do I apply this now with my running goals? And we were able to work through that. And it was just beautiful. It was amazing. And, that is very much in line with my philosophies as a dietitian, as a trained sports dietitian. As I mentioned, I've been in this field for 10 years now. And, something I say all the time, my clients think it's hilarious how often I say this, but I always say food is fuel. Because it is the fuel that your body needs in the same sense that your car needs gas in its tank, or if you're moving away from that, still needs to be plugged in. It needs that electricity. It needs energy from somewhere. And as human beings, that energy that we get is actually from food. Food is your fuel. Food is fuel. But my nutrition philosophy does go much deeper than that because I don't want us to just view ourselves like a machine, like a car. We are not that simple. We are far more complex and far more interesting. And food is fuel, but it's also just fun. It is delicious. It's fun to eat. It's fun to cook. It is fun, or it can be, and it should be. And if it's not fun for you right now, then you're missing half the picture of what food is. Food is fuel and food is fun. It tastes good. It's fun to go out with friends and get tacos and margs. And it's fun to make a meal with your family on a holiday. And that's another piece of food. Food is family. Food is culture. Food is memories. Food is a way of showing love. One step further from that, I believe that food is a gift. I am very I have a privileged life. I'm very, very lucky. And, I have grocery stores at my fingertips and I do have the financial ability to buy food, and I can get tomatoes in the wintertime. I can get avocados in Massachusetts. Like, food is available, food is abundant, and that's a gift because there was a point in human history and just in all history where that wasn't the case, where food is scarce. And even now, for some people, that's the case. And I don't know if anybody listening to this is super religious, but you can even go so far to think of that, of how is this a gift from a higher being? Food is a gift to nourish us, to allow us to share love, to share memories with others. So food is fuel for you to perform at your highest level, for you to be healthy and reach your health and fitness and performance goals. But that's, half the picture or less, because food is fun. Food is family. Food is culture. Food is love. Food is a gift. And we need to really embrace all of these things. And again, that's where diet culture doesn't. Diet culture tells you that food is just your way to lose 10 pounds. And it tells you that that's right, and that if you can't do that, you're wrong. But I call BS on that. I call BS on that. And there are a lot of dietitians and a lot of health professionals on my side as well. So we need to open your eyes to this and know that there's so much more to food than just calories, macros, and weight loss. That is not what it's all about. What a good rant I'm going on. And this is good. Like I said, maybe I'll dive deeper into diet culture stuff more in another episode, but it was also kind of like trending. And I felt like, wow, I've been in this field for 10 years and this is everything. I think of like my career as a dietitian. What I try and teach my clients is everything that I've accumulated over the last 10 years. Everything I've practiced, studied, helped other people through, experienced myself. It's been 10 years of going through this, and it's gonna be a lot more than that. God knows what stuff will come up in another 10 years, but I can guarantee you this. I really, really can, that this 10 years of knowledge and experience and information, I give as much of that to my clients as I possibly can, because I think all of it is important. And, that nutrition philosophy question, I was actually asking that this past week as I was doing some interviews, because my business, the official name, you all know me. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, and this is a female athlete nutrition podcast. My official business is Rise Up Nutrition, and I actually only started it 2 years ago. I've been a dietitian. I've been doing this stuff for a while, but as far as like, hey, I'm going to start my own business, I did that because in my heart, whatever jobs I was doing, and I was helping people always, but I wanted to encapsulate all of this and everything from the last 10 years. And I wanted to get it to people who needed to hear it, people whose eyes haven't been opened yet. And there are so many people that need help with this. And that's why I started the business. I didn't want to be limited and held back by a specific job or title and who I could help. I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's get this to the masses, because there are hundreds and thousands that need this. And so I've been in this business for 2 years now. And the last year, specifically 2020, I saw so much growth, and I am just so grateful for that. And it's thanks to people like you who are listening that this business is growing. And truly, truly from the bottom of my heart, as I was reflecting on 2020, I just had this immense amount of gratitude to be able to say that, wow, my mission and my purpose is actually helping people. And it's actually reaching people. And these past 10 years, I'm getting like emotional right now. I'm in my room alone recording a podcast, and I'm getting emotional because it's just beautiful. I'm not doing this business for the money. Of course, money is important so that I can have a business. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to. But I'm doing this because I think that you need this. And I want whatever knowledge and experiences I have, I want you to have it. I really do. And so this past year in 2020, it was just, I saw so much growth in the business. I put myself out there on social media as much as I could. I invested in myself thousands and thousands of dollars in business coaches and mentors to help guide me in how can I do this? Because like I said, this information is so important. How can I get this to people? I can't keep living my life just keeping this to myself. I really can't. That would be selfish of me. That would be so selfish of me if I kept all of this just for me. And so I invested so much over the past year to build this business and build this brand, because it is my mission to build a force of fierce, fit, and fueled girls and women. And that's exactly what I saw. I've helped dozens and dozens of clients, and I'm so grateful to every single one of them. And I'm so grateful to every single one of you listening to this podcast right now. And I'm as grateful as I am, I'm going to ask you guys one more favor. I'm grateful for all you've done, but I'm going to ask something of you. If you're listening to this, I would absolutely love it if you could share this with somebody. Share this episode with your mom, with your teammate, with your girlfriend, share it with your aunt, share it with your sister, share it with somebody you don't know, but randomly had a conversation in the grocery store about nutrition when they asked you, you get the whole wheat pasta? Should I get that? Just say, listen to this podcast episode. We need to spread this information. And if you could do that, if you could send this to just one person, send it in a text, do a social media post, have a conversation about it, I would be just eternally grateful. Because that, as I was reflecting on 2020, that is what I was just most proud of, was not, from a business perspective. It wasn't just like, oh, my business is working. It was more of like my heart is full. That's what I'm most proud of. My heart feels full that I'm doing something that to me, I feel is important, and I feel it's important, and my clients feel that it's important. And I've helped so many clients, but I'm not going to stop there. I want to help so many more. And so what's interesting too, is that as I was setting my own personal 2021 goals, I realized that the only thing limiting me from helping more people was, ironically, me. Because I've got these amazing clients and I have a pretty full packed schedule. And I was like, what? More people need to hear this. More people need my help. More people need to learn this. More people need this in their life. And the only thing limiting me was me and my time. We all only have 24 hours in a day. So the business is growing. So we're hiring. In 2020, I brought on an assistant who's a sports dietitian. I brought on 2 interns, one of whom also just became a dietitian this month. So we were so happy for her. One who is a soon to be a dietitian. I brought on a mindset coach, a psychologist to consult with. And now this year, I will be bringing on another nutrition coach, another sports RD who's really, really great at all of these things of sports nutrition, of intuitive eating, of mindful, healthy lifestyles in a different approach that's not contributing to this diet culture. So the business is growing. And I'm so excited for it. And as I was doing those interviews to hire the person who will be joining in on this team over here at Rise Up Nutrition, I was asking them, what's your nutrition philosophy? Because it has to be in line with mine, right? It has to be in line with the vision of this business. And, it's a hard one to accumulate what 10 years of working in the field creates for your nutrition philosophy. But knowing that food is fuel, but it's fun and it's family and it's a gift and it's love. And, those are all the things that we embody here at Rise Up Nutrition. Really, how can you use food to rise up to a higher version of yourself? And that encapsulates everything, right? Rising up with confidence in nutrition, not letting nutrition be something that's telling you you're doing it wrong or that you're not enough. Rising up with it. So I think what I'd like to do right now, like I said, this is a bit of a Lindsay rant episode, but what I would like to do right now is actually tell you about the business a little bit more for those of you who might be interested. Because as I mentioned, the business is growing. And I've also mentioned that everything I do is personalized and individualized and one-on-one work with clients. So I want to tell you really briefly about some of the actual work that I do with my clients, what it entails, so that if you are interested, now you know more about it, and also where things are heading. Okay, so first things first, one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about is a proven and very unique system. It's unique because it's mine. I invented it. I came up with it. It's one of a kind. It's called the Female Athlete System of Transformation. It is a 12-week program to help female athletes overcome disordered eating and use food as fuel to perform at your highest level. Now, I always say the word disordered eating because there is a range of disordered eating. For some people, you might, red flags might be going off. You're thinking anorexia, bulimia, orthorexia, and possibly, but it could also be slight underfueling. It could be stuck in the diet cycle. That's disordered eating to me. Disordered eating also could be, I have no clue what I'm doing because I've never learned proper nutrition. So sometimes I eat salads for 7 days straight, and then sometimes I don't because I have no clue. That's disordered. If you're trying to, it could be in the athletic space, it could be relative energy deficiency in sport or female athlete triad. It could be you don't resonate with any of these things, but you're having some health issues pop up like amenorrhea or chronic nutrition deficiencies or osteopenia, chronic injuries. And maybe it's nothing that you see yet, but maybe it's something that medical professional or somebody like myself, a dietitian, might be able to see, oh yeah, okay, we've got some issues. I work with a lot of clients who do not resonate with disordered eating or eating disorders, and that's because their eyes aren't opened yet. And so that's exactly what this program is. What I found in my experience is that people who struggle with the diet cycle and diet culture, people who struggle with disordered eating, eating disorders, red S, underfueling, female athlete triad, the whole gamut, they struggle with that for years, years and years and years. It is so sad because it doesn't have to be that long. And so that's why I have the Female Athlete System of Transformation, AKA the Fast Track, because you do not have to suffer from this for that long. Now, everybody's on a journey. I don't want to deny that, these things are a journey, and I don't want to give any false hope of what being free of something might look like in 12 weeks. It's different for every client that I work with. But I can guarantee you that this is the fast track. This will kick you into action, into motion, and overcome some major obstacles, some major hurdles far faster than anything you're doing right now. And I feel dang confident in saying that, than anything you are doing right now. So that is the fast track. That's kind of like where my heart and soul has gone into with this business and with the clients that I work with. And it's just had absolutely amazing results. If you want to look at those, of course, you can head to my website. You can head to my Instagram. I have lots of testimonial videos on my IGTV, and on my website, riseupnutritionrun.com has a lot more testimonials and information of the clients that I've worked with and how fast they truly have seen results and truly have overcome disordered eating. Now, another program I do is just a little more, I guess I could say, simplified than that. It's almost like the back half, right? If you aren't actually struggling with disordered eating, but are looking for nutrition advice. And I prefer that we don't make this decision yet until you and I talk and get on the phone and figure out what it is exactly you need. But the whole point of the fast track is that you do overcome disordered eating, so that you can use food as fuel to perform at your highest level. And so that's kind of the second half of what I do is, okay, well, wow, if you've overcome that, or if you don't have those problems, or if you have conquered that, then that's exactly what we do. We keep working on your nutrition, mindset, behaviors, and training so that you are using food as fuel to perform your best, so that you are encapsulating that food is fun and family and love and a gift, and just feeling good applying all of it to your life. I typically work with clients for, a minimum of 6 weeks and maybe longer if they're a continuation client and really love that support and accountability. And so that's just my female athlete nutrition, customized, individualized programming that I do with my clients. And as this business continues to grow and as I do hire, I'm really excited for 2021 to see what other things we can offer to you, to the people who need it. It might include things like group counseling or group nutrition programs. It may include things like programs specifically tailored to high school or collegiate athletes. It might include programs specifically tailored to moms. There are just so many things we could do. Menopause, that's something I haven't talked about yet on this podcast, but is super important to female athletes. So there's so many things that we can do within this business. And I think that's what I'm just thrilled about, is that it's here. It's here for you, and you are all here. And the last point I will make on this episode is that this is officially my 10th episode of the podcast, the first of the year, the 10th of its actual show. And I am dedicated to this podcast. I'm excited to someday say, hey, this is episode number 225. I'm in this for the long run because, like I said, so many girls and women, female athletes need this. So it's not stopping anytime soon. But what I think is cool about this being episode number 10 is because, woohoo, I'm in the double digits. So I'm psyched about that. But more so, I want to share a little personal story about this whole business growth thing, and then kind of goal setting, which is that all of last year, all of 2020, I kind of had it in my head that I would love to do a podcast someday. And that's exactly how I said, someday I'll do a podcast. Someday I'll do a podcast. But I didn't feel like I was ready yet. I didn't feel like, whether it was my confidence, I'm not quite sure, whether it was like business wise. I was like, well, I've only been in business 2 years, like less than 2 years at that time. Maybe that's not enough. I had just some concerns or insecurities about like doing it. So I said, someday I'll do it. Well, guess what? Someday never happens unless it becomes today. I have embraced this mindset when it comes to time. I'm going to get a little trippy with you guys for a few minutes here. But when it comes to time, we always think that we have, past, present, and future, as if they're 3 different things. We have our past, we have our future, and we have this present moment. But if you stop to really think about it, this moment right now that you're listening, whatever you're doing, if you're in the kitchen, maybe you're in the shower, maybe you're on a run at the gym, whatever you're doing listening to me right now, this moment right here is now in the past. This moment right here is now in the past. So your past is actually just a collection of your present moments. Your past isn't actually a separate time. It's just a collection of your present moments. It is the present that determines your past. Now get trippy with me again as we talk about the future, because I can say that, okay, on this podcast, I'm going to, scream. I'm just going to scream on this podcast in the future. I'm going to do it in 10 seconds. I'm about to scream. Get ready for it. I'm going to scream on this podcast. And it doesn't matter what I say I'm going to do in the future, because 10 seconds have passed and I haven't done it. So what was my future became my present and is now actually my past. Whoa, are you still following me? I know I'm getting so trippy, but whatever we say is the future, the future eventually is your present and then eventually is your past, because it's actually only your future is basically just your present moment. It's what you're doing in that present moment. So this is a mindset that I've really embraced about time and your future becoming a reality is only dependent on how you spend your present moments. The only reality in time that you have is this time right now. It is your present moment. And so to say that, for me, my example with this podcast, say someday I'll do a podcast. You want to know what it came down to? I was doing a business conference and they were presenting on podcasts. And I was like, gosh, darn it. Like this is exactly what I need. And I've been saying I'm going to do a podcast. And I was speaking to somebody and they said, so, are you going to do? I said, yeah, I'm really motivated by that. I'm definitely going to start a podcast. They said, when are you going to do? I said, maybe like 2021, maybe next year. And this was back in October. And they said, how about you start it now? And I was thinking in October, I was like, well, 2021 is right around the corner. Like, I'll just do it then. And they said, they motivated me. This person was like, well, I got my podcast up and running in a month, so you can too. And it just, that mindset of the only way for me to guarantee that I have a podcast in 2021 is actually if I do it right now. I need to get into motion and get into action right now with this present moment. And so that day I made a verbal commitment. I said, I will have my podcast up and running in a month. That was in October. And I did. The very next day, I started purchasing, the microphone, and I started learning online. What are the applications I need to get a podcast going? Then I started brainstorming ideas and topics, and the podcast was up and running in a month. And here I am now, just a couple months later in 2021, and I officially have a podcast that is reaching people and you are listening to it. And I truly hope, my only wish of this podcast is that it is impacting you and that you can share it with others and impact others in a positive way. And the only time you have is now. If you say that someday I'm going to get help with my nutrition, someday I'm going to overcome disordered eating, someday I'm going to get this whole nutrition thing under control, I want you to embrace this moment right now and make it now. Make it now. Get yourself into action. The only way that your future can guarantee that nutrition is truly within your control and that it is fun and that you have conquered this and you have overcome this is if you do it now. The only moment we have is the present. And if you want your future to look different, it will be right now. And I hope this is motivating as all heck. So I'm going to end the podcast so that you can hop online, head to my website, book a call with me, and we can chat about what you need. And we will get you into motion. We will get you into action. And next thing you know, 6 weeks, 12 weeks from now, you are going to say, wow, I have overcome my nutrition concerns. And we're only 12 weeks into 2021. If it's your 2021 goal, this can be done in 12 weeks. And you can have the rest of the year to live your life how you finally want. That future you've always envisioned can happen right now. So head to www.riseupnutritionrun. That's riseupnutritionrun.com. Book your call with me. I'm psyched for you. Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Let's make it happy and let's do it together. I really hope you enjoyed that episode and thanks for listening. But before I let you go, I have free resources that you can have access to right away, right now, so that you can start fueling your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. First, I have your Red S recovery race. If you've ever wondered if you might be struggling with Red S, curious to learn more, or know you have Red S and are looking to recover fast, then you can head to www.riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS and download the Red S Recovery Race. See how you place and figure out the next steps to recovery. Plus, while there, I have a few other great resources for you, including 3 nutrition secrets that every elite athlete swears by, and access to our private Facebook community, Female Athlete Nutrition. So again, to gain access to all of this, head to riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS. That's /REDS. And you can gain access and get the help you need fast. Too many girls and women and female athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. Become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and I'll see you next time.